Something truly disturbing happened in the early hours of Tuesday, December 30th, 2025. Two Catholic priests were brutally attacked by bandits at their own parish house in Nasarawa State, and the details are absolutely shocking. We're talking about men of God being targeted in what should be one of the safest places for them. The attack took place at Rita Catholic Church in Unity Estate, Mararaba, which is very close to Abuja. This isn't happening in some faraway remote village. This is practically on the doorstep of our nation's capital. And that should tell you everything you need to know about the current security situation we're facing. Around 2:30 in the morning, while most people were deep asleep, armed bandits stormed the parish house where these priests lived. Can you imagine waking up to the sound of attackers breaking into your home in the middle of the night? The victims have been identified as Reverend Comas Baye, who was the priest in residence and also a cadet of the Knights of St. John International, and Reverend Father Pever, who was visiting the parish. Father Pever used to serve as an assistant priest at this same church, so he knew the place well and was probably just visiting old friends when this nightmare unfolded. What makes this even more heartbreaking is that the parish priest managed to escape unharmed, but his two colleagues weren't so lucky. These bandits didn't just threaten them or steal from them, they actually stabbed these men of God, left them bleeding and fighting for their lives. Father Baye's condition was particularly serious because reports say he suffered complications from the attack, including a partial stroke. Think about that for a moment, a partial stroke. This man was attacked so violently that his body went into shock and he suffered a stroke as a result. Meanwhile, Father Pever had his own battle to fight because the bandits left him with severe injuries, including a fractured left arm. Both priests were immediately rushed to Nativity Catholic Hospital in Jikoyi, Abuja, where medical staff worked urgently to save their lives and stabilize their conditions. Father Pever actually had to undergo a surgical implant procedure to fix the damage done to his arm, which gives you an idea of just how serious these injuries were. The good news, and thank God for small mercies, is that both priests are now said to be in stable condition and responding to treatment. But stable doesn't mean they're okay. Stable just means they're not about to die right this minute. But the physical and emotional scars from something like this don't just disappear overnight. Now, before we go any further, if you're finding this story as shocking as I am, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel because we bring you real news about what's happening in our country, the stories that matter, the ones that affect real people's lives every single day. We need to keep talking about these issues because the more we stay silent, the more these criminals think they can get away with anything. The Knights of St. John International, particularly the Abuja Grand Commandery, came out with a very strong statement condemning this attack. And honestly, they didn't mince words at all. The statement was signed by their Grand President, Brigadier General Francis Ulona Njoku, and their Grand Secretary, Colonel Etta Peters. They called the attack heinous, barbaric, and reprehensible, which are exactly the right words to use. Because what else do you call it when people break into a house of God and stab priests in their own home? The Knights made it very clear that this wasn't just an attack on two individuals. This was an attack on the sanctity of human life, on religious institutions, and on the entire moral fabric of our society. When criminals feel bold enough to attack priests in their own parish house, it means they don't fear anything or anyone anymore. Not God, not the law, not security agencies, nothing. What's even more concerning is that this incident isn't happening in isolation. The Knights pointed out that this is part of a disturbing and growing pattern of attacks on places of worship and religious leaders in the Federal Capital Territory and the surrounding states. Think about all the churches, mosques, and other religious centers that have been targeted over the past few years. Think about the priests, pastors, and imams who have been kidnapped, killed, or attacked. This is becoming our new normal, and that should terrify every single one of us. When was the last time you heard about a church or mosque being attacked and actually felt shocked? For many of us, we've become so desensitized to these stories that they barely register anymore. We see the headline, we shake our heads, maybe say a quick prayer, and then we move on with our day. But we cannot afford to normalize this violence. The statement from the Knights also called on all relevant security agencies to urgently investigate this attack, find the people responsible, and bring them to justice without any delay. But let's be honest here. How many times have we heard this same call to action? How many times have communities, organizations, and families demanded justice for attacks like this, only to watch as nothing happens? The perpetrators fade back into the shadows, security agencies promise investigations that go nowhere, and eventually everyone moves on to the next tragedy. It's a cycle that keeps repeating itself over and over again, and frankly, it's exhausting for ordinary Nigerians who just want to feel safe. The Knights of John International also urged governments at all levels to strengthen security around religious institutions and communities. They specifically mentioned wanting to prevent a recurrence of tragedies like the Niger State school kidnapping and similar acts of terror that have plagued our nation. And this is where I want to pause and ask a very important question. If a parish house in Mararaba, which is so close to Abuja, can be attacked like this, then where exactly is safe? If priests can't sleep peacefully in their own residence without fear of being attacked and stabbed, then what hope do ordinary citizens have? The truth is that security has completely broken down in many parts of this country. Unity Estate in Mararaba is not some isolated community in the middle of nowhere. It's a residential area where families live, where children go to school, where people work and worship. The fact that bandits could operate so freely in such an area, attacking a Catholic parish house at 2:30 in the morning and getting away with it, shows just how bold these criminals have become. They're not even bothering to hide anymore. They're not worried about checkpoints or security patrols because they know there won't be any serious consequences for their actions. I want you to think about Father Baye and Father Pever for a moment. These are men who chose to dedicate their lives to serving God and serving their community. They didn't sign up to be soldiers or security guards. They signed up to be spiritual leaders, to provide guidance and comfort to people, to celebrate Mass and help the poor and vulnerable. And yet, they are the ones lying in hospital beds right now, recovering from stab wounds and broken bones and strokes. This is what our country has become, a place where even priests aren't safe in their own homes. If you've made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you sticking around. And I want to encourage you once again to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our updates. Share this video with your friends and family because stories like this need to be heard. The Knights of St. John International ended their statement by expressing solidarity with the Catholic Diocese of Lafia, with the clergy, and with all the faithful at St. Rita Catholic Church. They also offered prayers for the speedy recovery of Father Baye and Father Pever, and for lasting peace in the affected communities. Prayers are important, don't get me wrong. We need divine intervention now more than ever. But we also need action. We need functional security agencies that can actually protect citizens. We need a justice system that works, that holds criminals accountable for their actions. This incident in Nasarawa is yet another reminder that we are living in dangerous times, and unless something drastic changes soon, these attacks are going to continue. My heart goes out to Father Baye and Father Pever as they recover from this traumatic experience. I pray that they heal completely, both physically and emotionally. And I pray for Nigeria as a whole, that we find our way out of this darkness. Thank you so much for watching, and please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video. Until next time, stay safe out there.